Why did the Ewok fall out of the tree?
Ewoks are dumb?
They're furry and cute? I don't know.
Because he was fucking dead.
Oh, shit.
Way to go, stormtroopers!
Ow! He hit something.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
This is Escape Podcast. My name is Cameron Haug.
And I'm Zach Fielder. And again, today we are joined by...
Angel Mertens.
Woo! Welcome back,
in the
Angel.
How's it going, guys?
Doing just fine. How are you?
You could have totally went with a Cartman round on that one. How's it going, guys? Hey, guys!
Get in the kitchen and make me some pie.
No kid! No kid! The bad kid! My kid's been a dildo!
And little kitty's sleeping with me tonight.
What?
So what do we got on for news today, Zach?
Well, we have an update. I know it's a long-awaited... they wanted it to be better, the new Star Wars Battlefront, because the first one was kind of garbage.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lack of maps and missions, really.
There was no story.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what made the original so great was the fact that, well, in the second one, you got to play as the 501st. The 501st going through, like, the Clone Wars and how they adapted life in the Empire and the missions that they got sent on. And it's just like there's actually story and a shit ton of maps and a whole bunch of stuff you could do. It was awesome.
Yeah.
This new one wasn't so good. But this new one, they incorporated a story. And as most people know, you can now do battles through all the generations now, like you could in Star Wars Battlefront 2 originally.
Now you got prequel, OT, and sequel trilogy.
Yes, they have incorporated The Force Awakens in this one.
Yes.
They didn't. I don't know if they did.
Jakku on Battlefront, right?
They incorporated one battle. Yes, they incorporated the Battle of Jakku. Then they incorporated the battle on the planet from Rogue One. I can't remember what the name of it was.
Wobani.
There you go.
I actually, I
so
played
not
that one VR mission. It was really cool.
I'm surprised they didn't include Scarif, because that's where
The
Battle
ocean.
with Scarif.
yeah, the ocean water. That was like the best part.
That'd be bad.
It was so pretty. I would hang out there.
They could add it in this one. Who knows?
I mean, I hope they do.
But we have now been confirmed there is a battle on the assault on Theed. And if nobody knows what Theed is, Theed is on Naboo, and it is where the Gungan fought the clones, the big open grassy plains.
They fought the droids.
What'd I say?
Clones.
I did say clones, didn't I? Yeah, they fought the Separatists.
No one cared about that battle.
No one, yeah, exactly why I mixed it up.
Jar Jar Binks sucks.
Makes I think I get a bad rap.
So, what else we got with Battlefront 2?
All in all, it's a new story. A lot of people, I don't know if you guys knew, the story isn't about, like, it's no one canon. It wasn't even an important person. It was someone who was during the battle of, I want to say Yavin, and she was just a TIE fighter pilot. It's a female too. The main protagonist is a female.
Oh, what's her name?
I don't remember. I'll have to look that up.
I know what you're talking about.
It's called Google. Google knows everything.
We got time.
They do.
But no, so you play as her, and you witness the Death Star getting blown up, and you are now trying to piece together what was part of the Empire and lead them to victory.
Is this after the first or the second Death Star?
First.
Okay.
It's after the first. So yeah, they actually incorporated a story. There isn't much that they've disclosed yet. They did a live feed, a battle feed is what they called it, of the Battle of Theed. I didn't get to watch it, but
A live feed?
A live feed. Look at you. You are so punny.
Please don't send me to the penitentiary. I've already been there once this week.
The penitentiary.
We might have to call the wambulance.
The wambulance.
Wah.
My goodness. But yeah, that's about all I got.
All right, yeah. So I guess let's open up with some trivia instead of closing with it for our listeners. All right, here we go.
I'm ready to fail.
Ready to fail?
Sweet.
This one's kind of easy. Which part of a spaceship do Minox like to munch?
Cute.
Empire.
Minox.
Yep, it was an Empire.
Yeah.
Which part of a spaceship do Minox like to munch?
Wait, aren't they the ones that got on Luke's ship?
No, that was the ones that attached to Millennium Falcon that sound like a backwards kneeing horse. That's the sound they made.
Didn't they like to go towards the engine?
I thought it would be like the wiring, but that would be my guess. Like,
You
it looked
got
like
it.
spaghetti.
Yeah, Angel got it. It's the power cables.
Haha!
No kidding.
I got one right! Woohoo! It's about time.
All right. Here's an easy one. I hope both of you get this. Which city earns Obi-Wan Kenobi's remark, "You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy"?
Why you gotta look at me?
Because I
got one right.
This is a gimme.
This is the easiest thing you could possibly get.
What?
Other than, like, what color is Darth Vader's lightsaber or something like that.
This is a
What
gimme.
city earns Obi-Wan Kenobi's remark, "You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy"?
I remember him saying that. I just don't remember what.
Two words.
It's technically 3, he said. If you count spaceport as a word.
Oh no.
Spaceport.
No, I don't count it.
I have no idea. Please don't yell at me. I don't really know.
No,
I might.
Then go for
Zach,
it.
say it.
It's Mos Eisley.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
All right,
That's
all right.
not a.
Look,
is
she's
that a
trying to
city?
cover up herself now. Yeah.
I
it's a
thought it
city.
was just a cantina.
Well,
That
no,
was just
there's
the bar.
there's the cantina within Mos Eisley.
there's Chalmun's
Oh, see,
Cantina
I always just thought it was
inside
a bar.
the
I guess
city.
I didn't really think of it.
No,
like
Mos
as a
Eisley
city.
was the spaceport that
No.
everywhere it came and went.
Ah, okay,
All right,
great.
now
Well, I'm an idiot.
Here's a little bit of a trick question. Which vehicle does Han Solo describe as a piece of junk?
Millennium Falcon.
Millennium Falcon?
He doesn't call the Millennium Falcon a piece of junk, does he?
No.
I know everybody else did.
Everyone did except Han.
Yeah.
No, then it was piece of junk.
It was
The
Return of the Jedi.
the land speeder or the speeder bike.
Mm-mm.
No, the AT.
Nope.
No, oh, I don't know.
It's the Shuttle Tidarium. That 3-winged fighter that he flew onto the forest.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It wasn't made enough for Wookiees in mind.
Is it the one with like up the point of the top and then it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Like Vader
I
and Kylo's.
Yeah.
No.
Kylo's ship kind of looks like that.
Kylo's got one. Did the Krennic have one too?
I don't remember.
Yes,
Okay, they all had a
Yes.
similar ship design.
but it didn't like Kylo's didn't have like the mohawk part in the middle. You know, like the pointy part.
Yeah,
His
you're
was
right.
More
It just
flat.
had the two.
Yeah,
All right, that's all I got for trivia today, guys. So let's
I
get
got
to
one
it.
right, guys. I'm so excited.
Go! There you
About
go.
friggin' time.
Okay, so today we're going to finish up what we started last week. We have 2 more drafts. One being the 3rd draft that never made it. The last one being the 4th draft that most of us know today.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a recap of the last one, we went over the first ever draft called Journal of the Wills, and then the handwritten list of characters and planets.
Terrible names that he had originally.
A lot
Horrible
of names before
names.
that. I mean,
Mace Windy.
Yeah, seriously, windy.
a few of them stuck
He ate too
around,
many
though.
beans.
We got
Too many beans.
the Star Wars, which was the synopsis of it, which is blatantly copied from Donald Ritchie's The Films of Akira Kurosawa. Then we had our first draft, which came about in May 1974. And our second draft, called The Adventures of Luke Starkiller, Episode 1, The Star Wars, which came out January 28, 1975. It was
So
when it
glad
was
you
dated.
condensed that one too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That made it sound like it's like a bad straight to DVD film.
Thankfully,
bad porno.
that's not what we got, and we're here today talking about a film that came out 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And then our third draft we're talking about today is called The Star Wars, From the Adventures of Luke Starkiller, third draft on August 5th, 1975.
I think those really super long titles make him sound like a self-righteous prick. Like he's so full
kind
of
of
himself,
is.
you know. But I know he is. But I'm just saying it. Just having a really super long title like that makes him sound that way, even if he isn't that way.
Yeah.
You know.
But he is.
Well, yes.
I'm
Okay, then it just
in a love hate
strengthens.
The glove
yeah.
fits.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we got? What do you got the synopsis today, Zach, for the third draft?
Well, I'm taking the helm of the third draft this time, and I guess I'll start with the title crawl. This one's a little bit more drawn out. Like he really wanted to type this one out. So, the Republic Galactica is dead. Ruthless trader barons driven by greed and the lust for power have replaced enlightenment with oppression and rule by the people with the First Galactic Empire. For over 1,000 years, generations of Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy. Now these legendary warriors are all but extinct. One by one, they have been hunted down and destroyed by the sinister agents of the Emperor, the Dark Lords of the Sith. So right here, he's clearly stating the Sith weren't like...
It went from the Knights of the Sith to the Black Knights of the Sith to the Dark Lords of the Sith. Well, now it's Lords of the Sith.
Now it's Dark Lords of the Sith, and he's kind of indicating now that the Sith wasn't like the actual faction. More or less, they were just pawns of one person. Whereas now, today, we know as the Sith is like the rivaling faction of the Jedi.
Yeah, it was a social order that was put in place to exhibit different philosophical subsets using the Force.
Big words, yeah.
Big words are awesome.
Back then, it was just like a clan that met together to kill all.
Yeah,
the
they were just like the assassins of the Emperor, and what do they call it? The First Galactic Empire.
Now, you know what's interesting is that George actually at the time intended for there to be multiple emperors, and the current one we saw just happened to be this one. Later did he conform later to the idea of simply having one key member of the Senate overturn the Republic, turn that into the Empire, and reign for all eternity.
Him being a hidden Sith Lord.
Well, multiple emperors would get confusing.
Yeah, it would.
There would be too
a line of
much.
them.
Yeah, there'd be too much.
Emperor Palpatine, Emperor Vader, Emperor Windu.
Yeah, that'd be too
Who knows?
much.
Emperor Windu.
Emperor Windy.
As long as
according,
it's
yeah,
according to this,
we
it's
went
Emperor
there.
Windy.
Yep.
You went there.
Alright, I shall continue. It is a period of civil wars, rebel armies striking from fortresses hidden deep within the Great Rift. I'm going to pause right there. So, before he discussed the Outer Rim and everything like that, we are known as the Great Rift now. So, right there, his breakdown of the galaxy is imposed in this crawl right now.
Yeah, I think the Great Rift is supposed to represent a drop-off in the galaxy. You know, the outer rim where there's deep space and nothing else.
Well, like previously he mentioned Utapau, which was, of course, in Revenge of the Sith.
Well, that was
which
not
was in the Outer Rim, though. So
Well-
maybe he's saying the Great Rift is now the Outer Rim?
I think Utapau, we talking about the second draft?
Yes.
Utapau was supposed to resemble what we know to be Tatooine.
Oh.
But that's also on the outer rim.
Right.
So
I guess the Great Rift could be the Outer Rim.
yeah, that's essentially what it is. Just the very last mark of it. This is what I think Lucas was going through his mind at the time.
Hidden fortresses hidden deep within the Great Rift have won a crushing victory over the powerful Imperial Starfleet. The Emperor knows that one more such defeat will bring 1,000 more solar systems into the rebellion, and Imperial control of the Outland systems could be lost forever. Another hint to, I guess, the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
To crush the rebellion once and for all, the Emperor has sent one of his most ferocious Dark Lords to find the secret rebel strongholds and destroy them. So now the summary's throwing out a lot of planets and stuff that we know now. He's starting to use a lot of the terminology that we now know within the...
This third draft is a huge jump from the second draft that we saw, and this fourth draft is a pretty small step, but is essentially the next plotting point until we get to the actual film.
Yeah, I can see just by glancing over it that it's very close to what we know today.
Well, what do we got? What's the juice and meat of it?
All right, so
Steak.
Yep.
What's the steak of it?
steak with crab.
Lobster?
No.
No. Lobster.
Steak with mashed potatoes.
There you go. Keep
Yeah.
it classy. Above the planet of Utapau, stormtroopers led by Darth Vader, at this point is a Sith Lord and the right hand of the Emperor.
Okay, so now he's officially made his Sith status, and he's also right hand to the Emperor.
Yes.
Right.
Emperor does exist. I thought they brought that later in an Empire. But what's interesting to know that Utapau is essentially Tatooine in this draft.
And
So he ends up changing it. Why,
Yeah.
Why would he do that,
Just
though?
throws names around.
Just moving them around. Like
that's kind of the creative process. You just throw a bunch of names around, and when you start getting the visual aids to it, it makes it kind of cohesive and work together.
Now, he got the visual aids in the second draft when he hired a guy named Ralph McQuarrie to go ahead and do the artwork for him.
I'm amazed you know all this crap.
He's
Just off
he's
the
read
top,
a lot of books.
I'll
He
say
talks
off the
about
top
things.
of your head. It just
Yeah.
still amazes me.
Interesting. Lucas didn't come up with the idea for how Vader looks, which is how everybody became so infatuated with him. Ralph McQuarrie did that. In fact, Ralph McQuarrie gave Lucas the idea of making him a Sith Lord when he gave Darth Vader a lightsaber. That was not Lucas's idea. Lucas asked him to draw him a samurai with a black silk face. And what he came up with was some robotic wolf man that had a black armor, and they gave him a white lightsaber. And Lucas is like, I like this idea. I'll just go ahead and roll with it. Lucas had little to no contribution to what Darth Vader's character actually looked like.
Well, a
And
black silk face wouldn't have given him any detail. It would have just looked like
it was
nothing.
like a sheet over his
Right,
face.
it would have, yeah.
Yeah.
So doing the Vader mask, it's still that concept, but at least there's definition there.
The hooded man, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was what I would
Right.
have been going for.
I
Yeah.
mean,
like the
Vader
Grim
was,
Reaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vader was like the first antagonist that was ever deeply loved in the cinematic experience. And I think it could be solely attributed, well, his voice, his looks, and his character, of course. But his looks had a huge part in it, just like Boba Fett and Darth Maul. And I think the reason why is because it had nothing to do with Lucas, but Ralph McQuarrie's insights into it.
Right. So, stormtroopers led by Darth Vader overtake a rebel spaceship and conduct a search for the stolen plans to the Empire's Death Star battle station. A young rebel princess called Leia Organa is captured by the Imperials, but she refuses to reveal the whereabouts of the information. A young farm boy named Luke Starkiller has seen the space battle from Utapau's wasteland with his electro binoculars, but when he tells his friends at Anchorhead about it, they dismiss it as a fantasy. Luke is deeply impressed by and jealous of his best friend Biggs Darklighter.
There's that Biggs again.
I think
Biggs
that's
is
his official name now.
Yeah, Darklighter. It's a cool name.
Both, yeah. Both Starkiller and Darklighter. Those would have been great last night.
Those are like dark side names, though.
I think,
I know, they're both fabulous.
I think that's actually Biggs' last name in official Star Wars canon, is Biggs Darklighter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't get much playtime, he's a cool character.
They filmed him. They just cut him out in the deleted scenes.
Who's graduated from the academy, becoming a stormtrooper cadet. Before the princess was captured, two robots named C-3PO, a tall human cyborg relations droid, and R2-D2, a short beeping tripod, abandoned the rebel ship, crashing in the Utapau desert. R2 carries the Death Star plans and a message from Leia in his hands as the two droids are captured by Jawa scavengers and taken to the Lars homestead where Luke lives with his aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. The Jawas... What?
Peru.
And Peru.
I always thought it was with a P. And
No.
in reading it has
It's
a B.
Peru.
Oh, Peru.
Peru.
Uncle Owen and Peru.
How he says it sounds like Peru.
It does sound like Peru.
Yeah.
So that's me being in my little...
It's like he has
little
marbles
world.
in his mouth.
Yeah, like he's
Yeah.
talking with a mouthful of peanut butter.
All right, so and Peru.
Or mouthful of
The
something.
Jawas peddle the robots to Owen, and Luke decides to apply to the academy now that they have 2 extra droids on the farm. When it turns out that his academy savings were spent on the robots, Luke wishes his late Jedi father were there. Cleaning R2, he stumbles upon the hologram message in which Leia wants the droids delivered to Organa Major and says that she has been taken to Alderaan. Luke runs away from home with the droids in order to get help from General Ben Kenobi, a Jedi Knight his father had told him about.
Pre-hermit status.
So at this point, Luke had met his father,
Yeah, Luke knows his father.
and his father was absolutely not Darth Vader. He was just another Jedi who was a pupil of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, plus he was going to go to the academy, so...
Right.
Yeah.
He was still, even now, he was still planning on going in a...
He's not a moisture.
He was wanting to
farmer.
fighting. He was wanting to fight.
He wanted to go to the academy, the Imperial
Right.
Academy, and then he got a cut with the rebels and their cause against
Yeah,
him.
that's a huge, change
It's a
of...
bit of a jump. But
Yeah.
Biggs also did that too. All right.
Correct. After being attacked by barbaric Tusken raiders, Luke is found by Old Ben, who claims that he has become too old for adventures, proving his point by angrily cracking open his artificial arm. After some thought, Ben changes his mind, but since he has little force left in him, so they're treating force as
Like it's like
a measurement now.
Well, maybe like
Like an exhaustible resource.
Yeah.
Right. Like over time, like
Yeah.
your hair turns gray, you lose your force.
I guess so.
We still don't know what the Force really is at this point, because the only thing we knew about that beforehand was the force of others in the second draft.
Right.
Which is actually closer to the idea that we have today of the Force. But as of this point, it's just some mystic energy source that gets depleted at some point in time.
But what we know about energy is
Comes from
constant.
bacteria in your body.
It's conserved.
No, it's constant. Energy, like, you may put energy into something, but it's always going to come back as something else. It never disappears. Energy is always there.
We're getting way
first law
too
of
scientific
thermodynamics.
on something that George Lucas wrote.
No. I'm just saying, like, you talk about energy. So where would it go? To a new Jedi?
Heat dispersion would be my first guess.
Okay.
He has exhaust ports. Since he has to crack open his artificial arm,
Exhaust
There it is.
port.
it overheated. Okay. He starts teaching Luke about the Force of others as they leave with the droids for Mos Eisley Spaceport. On Alderaan, Vader and his fellow Sith Lords feel something old awakening, strengthening the Force. After using his laser sword to defend Luke against some creatures at a Mos Eisley cantina, Ben and his friends follow a furry Wookiee called Chewbacca to a nearby docking bay where they are introduced to a cocky star pilot named Han Solo, who agrees to take them to Organa Major for a considerable amount of money. Han tricks some evil pirates,
Wait, hold on.
including...
So Leia in this draft is called Leia Organa, who is on Organa Major?
Seems like it, yeah.
But princess.
Do you think the planet was named after their royal family?
That's a lot of money.
That's
You'd have to pay to have a planet named after you. You kidding me?
Maybe,
Well, maybe
it was
they
vice
found
versa.
it or something.
Maybe the planet's like, hey, let's. My name's Dr. Earth, and then that's how that
The
happened.
planet decided.
No, the people decided to
like,
name
I'm gonna
themselves
name.
after the
You know,
planet.
Earth sounds good. I mean,
Well,
it means dirt, but I'm gonna call myself
Dirt.
Cameron Earth.
But I mean, if you think about it, maybe their original ancestors were like explorers, and they're the ones who found the planet. Way, way, way back in the day.
Yeah.
Like America.
I think there was a
America.
good move on
America.
Lucas's part to change Organa Major to Alderaan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tricking some evil space pirates, including Jabba the Hutt, the financier of his ship, into leaving the docking area, and as the heroes leave Mos Eisley, a furious Jabba is left behind. Aboard the ship, Ben feels that something horrible has happened. When they reach Organa Major, they find the planet destroyed by the Empire. Now they must rescue the princess from the imperial city of Alderaan in order to find the rebels. So Alderaan isn't a planet, it's a city on Organa Major, the planet.
Kind of like Seed versus Naboo.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Yeah.
Good. At Alderaan, their ship is boarded by stormtroopers, but only 3PO is found since the others are hiding in scan-proof lockers.
So I think that was specifically for the third draft, or was that in the second draft too? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Okay, it sounds very familiar.
I think it's kind of funny that they leave 3PO behind because his joints don't bend or anything like that. He's
You're
just
gonna be a permanent resident.
He's a useless pile of shit.
Yeah.
But
Quite annoying sometimes.
moving on. Luke and Han steal stormtrooper uniforms, and with Chewbacca posing as their prisoner, they leave for the detention area, where they wreak havoc and find the tortured Leia. The groggy princess takes command of the situation after getting past a Dianogu monster.
Oh, so still doesn't change the name to Dianoga yet.
Yeah, there's with a U at the end of this
Yeah.
one.
Still is that little trash monster with the tentacles.
U with the weird eye.
Mm-hmm.
They jump down a chute leading to a garbage masher from where they are saved by the droids. Using the Force and his laser sword, Ben has managed to retrieve one of the Kyber crystals, but he meets Vader on his way back, and a duel commences. As the others make it to the hangar, Ben slams down a blast orb between Vader and himself, and everybody manages to escape at Han's ship. 4 pursuing TIE fighters are shot down, and the ship reaches the Masasi outpost on the 4th moon of Yavin, where the rebels plan an assault on the approaching Death Star. The plans inside R2 give a thermal exhaust port as the station's weak point. So this is all, he's pretty much going with what he's now has today.
There's a few more changes left.
Yeah.
Ben's still alive.
Yeah, what's interesting is that the reason that Ben got killed off by Vader, I'm not sure if I mentioned this last episode, was that could be solely attributed to his then wife, Marsha Lucas, wanting Vader to seem more menacing. And he's like, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. And so that's why Obi-Wan was killed off by Vader. another incentive for that was because Alec Guinness wanted nothing to do with Star Wars, so they killed him off and they kept bringing him back.
Why sign on for the movie if you want nothing to do with it?
He didn't like it as they kept producing it. I'm not quite sure, but that was a good thing that Lucas did. It made Vader seem a lot more menacing than what he was.
But at the same time, I mean, he didn't even really fight him. He sacrificed himself. That's the way he did it. Like, he didn't actually, like, battle him. He sacrificed himself.
He did battle him, but at that point when he saw Luke, I guess he had a vision for the future of him dismantling the Empire by destroying the Death Star, so he figured that he could help him through the Force by sacrificing himself and becoming one with the cosmic Force as opposed to the living, and telling Luke
Right.
in his training. That was later expanded upon in Empire when he told him to go to Dagobah. But yeah, I think that's a valid point. It was more of a sacrifice.
It was
than
more of a
lightsaber
sacrifice. Like, he just stopped. He didn't even battle. He put his arms down. He just let him, like, or he just, he did his thing and just stood there and let him hit him. He knew it.
Okay. What else we got?
Han leaves after receiving his money, while Luke claims a place in the battle as his reward. The attack has gone poorly for the rebels. When Luke approaches the target with the Kyber crystal in his hand, so the Kyber crystals uses ammunition now.
I thought it was more of an energy source.
But, so I mean, saying Luke approaches the target with the Kyber crystal in his hand. Like, so is it like, what does he use to power the bomb he drops in the exhaust port?
I think. Well, I guess
Like,
we should
is it like a
keep reading.
detonator? Is that what you're kind of referring
I think it like guides him to do it better. I think it's one with the Force at this
Okay,
point.
because Ben was training him and gave him the Kyber crystal after.
And I think Ben took a Kyber crystal from the Death Star too, which helped.
Is what he said in this.
Yeah. And then it guided him along to throwing it down the exhaust port.
Gotcha. It's up for debate. If anyone has any opinions
George,
on it,
if you're listening, please tell us what you were
He's
thinking
not
at that
gonna
point.
answer.
No, and he'd lie about it.
I don't know.
too.
I throw enough Star Wars hashtags on my post, so maybe he sees it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Vader feels the Force in Luke and starts chasing him in his fighter, when suddenly Han's ship turns up, firing, causing the Sith Lord to collide with his wingman.
So that was part of the final film.
Yeah, and as he's spinning.
Right.
As Vader's ship spins out of control, there it is, Luke fires a torpedo into the exhaust port and the Death Star explodes.
So I think the Kyber crystal just guided him.
Gotcha. Instead of, the voice in his head saying, use the Force.
Is that what Obi-Wan said? Yeah, he said,
use the Force, Luke. Yeah.
Right.
At a ceremony back at the outpost, Luke, R2, 3PO, Han, and Chewbacca are awarded gold medallions.
Now that was actually part of the final draft too, but Lucas, I guess, either forgot to put a medallion on Chewbacca, or Carrie Fisher just couldn't reach on top of Peter Mayhew's shoulders.
That's possible because she wasn't very tall.
No, but
And Peter Mayhew's a giant.
Yeah, he's super tall.
But either way, they
He's got a
forgot
cape
about
and
that.
shit for that.
I think that was an interesting point, and that, I guess, is the end of the third draft.
That's all he got for the third draft,
Yeah.
so not a whole lot.
I mean, it wasn't very detailed like some
No.
of the other ones
No,
were.
I mean, this one was super long. This is just a synopsis off of Wikipedia that we're reading.
Well, for sure, but I'm just saying, like, in some, there was not as much detail in this as opposed to, say, like the one we did at the end of last episode.
Yeah, it's strange the path that it took, but I do like the end result that came about from it. I really wish George went through with the Kyber crystals being the source of the Force instead of midichlorians, but what are you gonna do? So that
Now
was
Kyber crystals are...
It would make more sense as to why they're so important.
yes, it would.
They're still important, though. When,
No, I'm just
when,
saying,
when a
but, like-
when a Jedi builds his saber, the Kyber crystal has to have the same frequency as the Force he gives off. He has to
Sure.
make a bond with the Kyber
That
crystal.
didn't that happen after the fact? That wasn't an original scenario.
I don't. After the fact of Star Wars or
Yes.
Empire, at this point, at the end of it, Kyber crystals weren't supposed to be in laser swords, quote unquote.
Right.
They were later
Lightsabers are
incorporated.
so much better.
I know, right?
The
the
lightsaber.
Force.
I'm glad they changed that.
Isn't a
last
laser
second.
sword the weapon in Smash Bros? That's just what they call it. Let's just grab the laser sword.
Oh yeah, I mean, I use the home run bat. That's my prime choice.
You just like hear that ping.
Yep, home run. So that was the Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Starkiller third draft from August 1st, 1975. Then comes around the fourth draft, which came around January 1st, 1976. So he began writing on the new year, I guess as a form of a resolution or something.
I must make this better.
And the title of the fourth draft, which was used later in the film but revised 6 times before they began filming, which was very minuscule, that's why we call it the fourth draft still, which was called The Adventures of Luke Starkiller, as taken from Journal of the Wills, Saga 1, The Star Wars.
Son of a bitch. Why does he have to throw everything now?
You know
like,
what?
It's
It's
most
like little
people...
man syndrome.
Yeah.
Let's put every single word known to man in it because I have a little wiener.
Yeah, most people condense
know
it.
what size George's penis is.
I'm just saying, it's
probably
like I
Googled
bought a really big truck because I'm super short dude. Like, that's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That big
You
the
can't
big
pull
truck.
a 747 up the side of a mountain with one of your
I've got a
big
couple
target
guys that are really
athletes.
tiny that have really big trucks because they have problems.
Overcompensating or
Yes.
something?
Because
I doubt.
Their height.
I don't know George's penis size, but I think it's best that we don't jump to conclusions at this point. What I do
a
know,
female is entitled to her own opinion.
I have an
Yeah.
opinion. I usually do.
But when most people, like, there's a creative process going on, they start with a really long title, and eventually they end up condensing it.
well, that's what
See, I've
happened.
never-
But
that
in
guy.
this first one, he took all the titles now and made them into one big title.
Yeah. No,
Why?
what's really interesting is that both in the second, the third, and the fourth draft, all was included the idea of there being the first episode, which is absolutely what was supposed to happen. Darth Vader was not the Sith title of the Darth Vader that we know today, but his actual name with the first name Darth. That's why Obi-Wan literally refers to him as Darth
Vader.
2 times during that lightsaber battle. Only a master of evil, Darth. That was his actual name. Father Skywalker was absolutely not
okay.
the same person.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
In fact, Darth Vader was nothing more than a henchman of the Empire and a subordinate to Turkin. When the Death Star exploded, that was the dissolving of the Empire. That's why they were giving a celebration and they were rewarding. It was a single film that had possible low-budget sequels, if it didn't do too well. But the end result was, hey, we destroyed the Empire. We blew up the Death Star. Because remember what Tarkin said? Fear of this station will keep enemy systems in line. Something around that.
Yeah.
That's what caused the power of the Empire in the first place. When you blow it up, there's no more power for the Empire. Now, Lucas later wrapped around that idea and said, okay, the Empire's still here, but we're going to go ahead and make them finish it later, and instead there's going to be a second Death Star, and there's going to be the Emperor on it. Yeah. But
Because they have enough time. How long do you think it took them to build the first Death Star?
Right, seriously.
But, here's a couple years down the line. We have a second one. Do you think
You know
they were
what,
building
though?
them
They probably already had that one in the
Yeah, they were probably
works.
building them side by
Yeah,
side.
they were probably in tandem. Like, they started off with the first one and...
actually, that was Lucas's idea for Revenge of the Jedi, having 2 Death
Revenge
Stars.
of the Jedi?
That was the original working title.
Really?
And he changed it at last second and then claimed that it was always supposed to be Return of the Jedi because Jedi don't have revenge. And then he went ahead and tried to destroy all the evidence for Revenge of the Jedi. But you can actually still buy official posters of Revenge of the Jedi for like $800 on eBay.
Oh, yeah, they're
Right, because I
very
have
valuable.
$800 to spend on a poster.
Or you could buy a replica for $5.
Right. Or you
Cameron
could
Cameron
take
has
a
that
picture
kind of
of the
money. Have you
picture.
seen his lightsaber?
Oh my god.
His
That's like half
lightsaber's
that.
amazing.
I love it. So let's get into the fourth draft. Not the one used for the film, but pretty damn close. So what's interesting to know about this is in the end title credits of Star Wars is that it says it's written and directed by George Lucas, which isn't necessarily true. He didn't direct the whole thing, as we talked about. Gary Kurtz and some third cameraman. I think it might have been Gilbert Taylor, the cinematographer. I'm not quite sure.
You're really good with names.
They directed the last third of the film.
I'm just like,
And then George actually didn't fully write the fourth draft. He had help from 2 of his workers. Well, it wasn't his worker. It was like a friend and a companion. They were dating each other, I think, and their names were Gloria Katz and Willard Hike. And they actually rewrote 30% of the dialogue from the third draft and made it seem more human in the fourth draft, which is what caused people to fall in love with the characters in the first place. The reason why people love Star Wars could not be solely attributed to George Lucas, but the insight from Gloria Katz and Willard Huyck and the reforming and restructuring of the fourth draft.
Now I've read in like Carrie Fisher's like diary memoir thing, and then also I saw during the 40th anniversary panel that they did down at Star Wars Celebration that the words that George Lucas used, they were just all three of the main characters, Luke, Han, and Leia, were all like, this is not the way people talk. These words don't make any sense, and it was hard for them to get them out in a way that would feel right.
Yeah, and surprisingly, they actually got it to work a lot of the times. Even Hamill complained, like, this is not how normal people talk, and he said, just go ahead and do it anyway. And George, let's be honest, still didn't have his footing to know exactly what he was doing, but he had some grasp after American Graffiti, and he made it work.
Yeah.
But
I mean, having Katz and the other person come along and help to make it more human, to humanize it more, and take out some of that terminology that may be too scientific for the normal audience.
Yeah,
was a good idea.
They definitely increased the character development of the film, which is
for sure
incremental towards how great the film is.
Yeah.
The reason why the prequels were kind of lackluster and almost had that magic was because there was very little to no character development involved. Except for, Revenge of the Sith.
Obi and Anakin, watching them develop.
Yeah, you saw that, but there was no development for Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Mace Windu.
So you're naming a lot of characters that weren't even in the movie per se. Like they had that brief. They had the brief showing.
It was like cameos.
They had the council, and then they killed them off, and George expected people to be like, "Oh no, I'm so sad," but there was never any development.
Right?
For
Yeah,
them.
that's actually
no attachment.
Right.
No. Okay.
And that's when we get the Clone Wars. We can build that attachment.
Right,
we can build that attachment.
I think that's what
such a good idea.
Clone Wars and Rebels really were a good idea because
So that-
it does give you that emotional attachment.
Yeah, so we
to
can
those
build that
characters.
attachment to those Jedis that we watched die in the third one, and now when we go back and watch Revenge of the Sith, now we're crying because like I love that guy so much.
Right.
It does mean a whole lot more when you watch the execution of Order 66 after finishing Clone Wars. All right, so let's get into it. Title crawl of the fourth draft: The Adventures of Luke Starkiller, Saga 1. As taken from Journal of the Whills. It is a period of civil wars in the galaxy. A brave alliance underground, freedom fighters have challenged the tyranny and oppression of the awesome galactic empire. Not evil, awesome. Striking from a fortress hidden among a billion stars in the galaxy, rebel spaceships have won their first victory in a battle with the powerful Imperial Starfleet. The Empire fears that another defeat could bring 1,000 more solar systems into the rebellion, and the Imperial control of the galaxy would be lost forever. To crush the rebellion once and for all, the Empire is constructing a sinister new battle station, powerful enough to destroy an entire planet. Its completion spells certain doom for the champions of freedom. And so, what's interesting is the plot is essentially the same as the film, except for the main protagonist is no longer Luke Starkiller, but Luke Skywalker, which was changed, I think, like after the third revision, I'm not sure. And they threw in the fantasy intro of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away that was actually absent in the third draft, but present in the second.
What was the line about champions again at the very end of the crawl?
Its completion of I guess they called it the new
champions.
battle station. Powerful enough to destroy an entire planet, its completion spells certain doom for the champions of freedom.
I like that. The champions of freedom. That sounds really cool. They're the champions of freedom.
It sounds like a euphemism that the government would use.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like some World War II propaganda.
Are you your Liberty lettuce?
Champions of freedom out.
Oh my god, that was actually pretty good.
And the only real difference is that Obi-Wan lives in this draft, which, of course, Marsh is like, hey, you should kill him, and they changed it later while they were filming.
You might want to kill him because the guy who's playing your character doesn't want to be in your movie anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what we have here is now, what's really strange is that Lucas actually was a very large proponent of not colorizing classic films for producers to maintain the structural integrity and society's artistic culture as a whole. But in 1979, he actually revised this draft that I actually can't get a hold of, but I guess he didn't want it out to the public, and the state gave this one, which is the one that was used and made after the film was made. So it shows exactly what goes on in the film and what's being said, and some deleted scenes that were cut out later. So
it's kind of like that very first draft he did where you couldn't actually get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
they're probably his. Like, so I know that like Disney came along and bought Lucasfilm, but with that, did they buy all of these? Are these all theirs, or
all
does
titles
he?
anything that has Lucasfilm.
I'm sure they have the original projector reels, but I don't know about the original drafts. I'm sure Lucas.
I'm pretty sure Lucas kept a couple reels for himself.
Well, I meant like of the drafts because
Oh.
it seems like in this you can get pretty much all of them except for that very first one, and then like the one that's actually the one.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, what's interesting is that Lucas never admitted to altering this draft after the film. In fact, he claimed it was from the 1976 script, which is true, but he changed the title of it, which is kind of
He elongated
different.
the title.
No, he actually shortened it, believe it or not. He revised it in 1979 and never admitted it and published it to Bantha Tracks, the magazine at the time for the Star Wars fan club, and he called it Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope, changing its chronological order from Saga 1 to Episode 4. Now, right around this time, Lucas had just completed the second draft of Empire, where Lucas successfully thought of combining the Father Skywalker and Darth Vader character, which is why and now it takes precedent in the fourth position as opposed to the first, like where any normal person would start. So he went ahead and changed it and never admitted it. And this is one of the many changes that Lucas makes to the saga as a whole. So let's get into the synopsis. Of course, we all know it. There is a civil war between the evil Galactic Empire and the Rebel Alliance. In order to crush its opponents, the Empire has constructed the Death Star, a space fortress capable of destroying planets. But rebels have managed to seal secret plans to the space station, and now Rebel Princess Leia Organa is on her way home to Alderaan with the stolen information. Above Tatooine, so the first introduction of the planet Tatooine we see, which is the last second, Leia's ship is overtaken by an Imperial Star Destroyer. Leia is captured by Darth Vader, the Emperor's Dark Lord of the Sith, but his stormtroopers did not find the plans. R2-D2 and C-3PO, two rebel robots or droids, abandon the ship in a life pod, crashing in the Tatooinean desert. Imperials locate the pod, but the data is not there. The robots have been captured by Jawa scavengers. Luke Skywalker has spotted the space battle with his electro-binoculars, but his friends at Anchorhead don't believe him. Luke's best friend, Big Starklighter, is the first mate on the space frigate, but as an Academy graduate, he's likely to be drafted to the Imperial Starfleet. Thus, he's decided to jump ship and join the rebellion.
Did you just say Starklighter?
Darklighter.
Or is it Darklighter?
It's
okay.
Darklighter.
Okay. I was just making sure, like, did he change his name again?
No, it's Darklighter.
Poor Biggs.
So the Jawa Sandcrawler arrives at the farm where Luke lives with his Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. The two droids are sold to Owen. Luke is cleaning R2 when a hologram of Leia appears, begging for the help of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is exactly what we see. Luke wonders if she meant the hermit Ben Kenobi, but Owen claims that Ben is dead. Owen further upsets Luke by telling him that he cannot go to the Academy since he's needed for the farm. Meanwhile, R2 has escaped, and Luke and 3PO leave in a land speeder to search for him. So what's interesting at this point in episode...
So why would Uncle Owen tell Luke that Ben's dead?
Luke didn't want...
You mean Owen?
At this point, Owen didn't want Luke to follow in Father Skywalker's footsteps and join the rebellion, which is how Father Skywalker died, alongside Obi-Wan.
So he knew that.
So at this point,
he was a Jedi. Okay.
Owen wasn't lying to keep him around to be on the farm like a little pansy, which is what Lucas had to resort to later, but instead he was trying to protect him and keep him safe, which makes him seem a lot more altruistic than the conniving Owen that is portrayed now in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
So
we have an honest Owen.
Yeah, along with Obi-Wan, who was definitely considered honest at the time, and he told...
to go to Tashi Station and get power converters. Right.
Obi-Wan had to be resorted to, being a little liar later when Lucas decided to go back on the claim that what Obi-Wan said, that Darth Vader had killed his father.
Mm.
And the only way you could have possibly fixed that plot hole was saying, it's just from a certain point of view... Tee-hee-ha-ha. And that's where that speech came around. And I don't like that one bit, but that's honestly, if you're going to write yourself into a hole like that because you're making up as you went along, that's one of the best ways I guess you can try to get out of it. Let's see here. So, upon finding R2, they are attacked by vicious Tusken Raiders, but the creatures are chased away by an old man who turns out to be Ben Kenobi. At Ben's dwelling, Luke receives his father's lightsaber. So at this point, it's now called a lightsaber.
Right.
Learning that his father and Ben were Jedi Knights. The Jedi served as peacekeepers of the Old Republic, but were hunted down and killed as the Empire grew. According to Ben, Darth Vader, a pupil of his, so not a student at this point, but a pupil, was seduced by the dark side of the Force, an energy field which binds the galaxy together, and murdered Luke's father. Leia's hologram tells Ben about her capture and asked him to deliver R2 to the father on Alderaan. Since the droid contains vital information, Luke declines to follow Ben to Alderaan, but agrees he can take him as far as Anchorhead. On their way, they find the Jawas have killed what seem to be Imperial troopers. Luke drives home, fearing that the Jawas were killed by what seemed to be Imperial troopers.
Jawas overthrowing Imperial troopers. That's kind of a stretch.
Yeah. Also,
Right.
I think at this point, this absolutely is counter evidence against the theory that Boba Fett had killed Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. Have you guys heard that?
No.
Stormtroopers can't fire anything. And then Obi-Wan says, these blast points are too accurate for Zen people. Only stormtroopers have that kind of accuracy. And
But
the
stormtroopers can't hit the broadside of the barn.
Yeah. So then...
Isn't there a theory to that too, that like the Force kind of drives those blaster shots away?
From Rogue One?
Yeah.
I heard about that. So then Luke goes home and he finds that Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are disintegrated. Which is, I guess, reasonable grounds for them thinking, oh, that's why Darth Vader took Boba Fett. No disintegration. But we know that Boba Fett didn't come around until the holiday special a year later, and we know that at this point...
Little holiday special.
For normal people, he didn't come around till a lot later.
That's true. For those of us who have not seen
Empire is when we
holiday
first
special.
saw him in
Right.
theaters. And then, what was I going to say? At this point, it was definitely inclined that stormtroopers went ahead and killed Uncle Owen and Beru by the Empire, charged by, I guess, the Emperor, or maybe Darth Vader, and then it specifically wasn't Boba Fett. Let's see here. Luke drives home, fearing for the lives of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, only to find their smoldering remains are left. Meeting up with Ben, Luke says that he will go to Alderaan, learn about the Force, and become a Jedi. At Mos Eisley Spaceport, Ben uses the Force to get past Imperial guards when Luke is threatened by some hideous creatures in the cantina. The old Jedi shows his lightsaber skills. Han Solo, captain of the ship the Millennium Falcon, so this is the first introduction of the Millennium Falcon, I believe, and Chewbacca, his Wookiee co-pilot, agree to take him to Alderaan if they are well paid. Luke and his friends leave to sell the speeder. Han avoids getting killed by a bounty hunter at the cantina, but back at his ship, he's confronted by his mercenary's employer, Jabba the Hutt. Now, what's interesting is that this scene was originally meant to be in the original film, but because they had no concept of what Jabba the Hutt would look like, they simply had a Scottish man go ahead and walk around, and when they went ahead to go ahead and put in the special stop motion from ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, they had no idea what they were doing, they didn't know what Jabba looked like, and it'd be way too costly, so they simply cut the scene. Lucas then later reinstated it back in the special editions in '97, and it looked like complete shit. And I think it still does, even with the 2004 update.
There's something I wanted to ask about. I was a couple lines back. Can you reread what you went over really quick?
Oh, Lord. Mos Eisley Spaceport?
You need a ruler.
No,
man.
okay, I got it. They're saying Alderaan is a place where Jedi train in that draft. He would go to Alderaan to train to be a Jedi?
Yeah, Luke says he will go to Alderaan, learn about the Force, and become a Jedi.
Well, that would make sense as to why they would blow it up. You know, it would give it more reason to blow up all. I know they're taking.
That's just what I interpreted, though.
That's they even said that in the film, and I think Obi-Wan was just going to train him on Alderaan. Maybe that's what it was, and so that he could become a Jedi himself, just like his father before him.
Vader.
Han avoids getting killed by the bounty hunter Jabba the Hutt. Solo is in debt to Jabba, and the alien pirates threaten to put the prize on Han's head if he doesn't pay him soon. Now, what's really dumb is that scene that Lucas threw in later had no further development in the plot and actually ruins the plot twist of Jabba the Hutt as long as you don't remember Phantom Menace. Because everything that's stated in that special edition scene had to be cut, so they made it work in the cantina. So Greedo says everything that Jabba says 5 seconds later. Greedo says, "Oh, Jabba's put a price on your head so big that every bounty hunter would be looking for you in the galaxy. And he said, I don't drop Imperial shipments. And everything that Han says to Greedo before he shoots Greedo down, without Greedo firing back.
Because everyone knows Han shot first. Don't be stupid.
Hands down.
And then Jabba says the exact same thing in the special editions. And then within the special editions, of course, Han didn't shoot first because Lucas went back on the idea of Han killing Greedo in cold blood, wanted to make it more acceptable for his children, and went ahead and threw in a laser bolt half a second beforehand and digitally shifted Han Solo's head.
No. He's not killing a guy in cold blood. The guy is there to kill him. That's what he's there to do.
But he was a lot more badass when he shot him under the table.
No, and he did shoot him under the table. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no more of this whole thing where they jump his head. They jump his head to the right or left a little bit.
No, what I'm saying is having Han shoot Greedo first. That's not killing him in cold blood because the dude was there to kill him.
Well, the dude was there to take him to Jabba.
Yeah, that dude was going to kill him.
Well,
he was going to die. That's the way he got out of it.
You're going to die, clown.
Yeah, that's it.
I like the way that Lucas had it. I don't like the way he changed it.
Han shot first.
We should do an episode on the changes of Star Wars. I think that'd be interesting.
There's a lot of
later.
Yeah, we got to keep going with this though.
You need a ruler.
The Empire is on their trail, but Luke and Ben and the droids, Han and Chewbacca, manage to escape into hyperspace with the Falcon after they leave Jabba the Hutt. What are you doing?
I'm giving you a ruler so you can follow along so you lose your place.
This is very hard.
I'm trying to help you here.
All right.
I do it at work all the time.
Such a mom.
No, it's just stuff.
On the Death Star, Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin, a governor, that's interesting, tired of Leia's loyalty, order the destruction of the Alderaan. During Luke's lightsaber practice, Ben feels a sudden disturbance in the Force as they reach Alderaan. The planet is gone. Without realizing it, they approach the Death Star, and their ship is towed aboard the station with a tractor beam. The Falcon is searched without result since the crew is hiding in the smuggling compartments. So 3PO is now within the smuggling compartments.
Well, and then too, it's not Obi-Wan feeling the shift in the Force, it's Luke, which is different.
No, they said Obi-Wan.
Did they say Obi-Wan?
Ben feels a sudden disturbance in the Force.
Oh, okay. I thought he said Luke. Never mind. My bad.
It was Ben. Han and Luke steal stormtrooper uniforms, and the group con their way into the command office where R2 locates the tractor beam's power source. So no longer are they looking for the kyber crystals, but trying to turn off the tractor beam, which I actually liked a lot better. Ben leaves to shut it down while R2 notices that Leia is being held aboard the station. Luke and Han leave for the detention area with Chewbacca posing as their prisoner. So this was in the second draft that we even saw this. After some fighting, Leia is freed from her cell, but they're cornered by the Imperials and forced to slide down a garbage chute. After almost being drowned by the tentacled Dianogu, so it's still Dianogu at this point, crushed moving walls, they are released from the garbage room and the droids find their way back to the ship. The tractor beam is shut down, but Ben encounters Vader and a lightsaber duel commences. Realizing that the others are safe, Ben ceases fighting and is struck by the Dark Lord. Only a cloak is left of Ben as the Millennium Falcon shoots down the pursuing TIE.
Okay, so that whole Ben Vader thing is there.
Yeah, so now Vader is effectively, Ben is effectively gone due to Vader. So as the Millennium Falcon shoots down TIE fighters and it heads for the rebel outpost of Massassi on the fourth moon of Yavin, where Luke is reunited with Biggs. Han leaves with his reward, and Luke, Biggs, and the rebel pilots attack the Death Star. Most rebels, including Biggs, have been killed when Luke's X-Wing ship approaches the weak point, which is found using R2's plans. Vader, in his personal ship, is about to fire on Luke when Falcon turns up, sending the Dark Lord into space. Luke hears Ben's voice and uses the Force to hit a small target. Tarkin and his battle station are reduced to space dust, while the heroes are rewarded with the princess back at the base.
So it doesn't talk about medals there.
No, it's just they're rewarded.
Yeah, I mean, Chewbacca didn't get the medal that we saw in that, but that's essentially the...
what we know today.
They're pretty close to what we know today.
Both of those very close. Both of the last year.
Absolutely, and that's how we got the final version of Star Wars. Well, not really. The theatrical release of Star Wars that we know today. And what's interesting is that after all that we see in this, Lucas makes the claim that I actually made I don't know the quote per se, but I'm paraphrasing. He says that he made a script that contained enough content for all 3 films, which we know is a lie, but the closest thing that comes to that is the 3rd draft that we just read, where Luke Starkiller teams up with an Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they go to the planet of Yavin, where they have to go ahead and shoot down the Imperial fleet on there, and then the Wookiees fly up and shoot down the floating Death Star. Essentially what happened there is the closest thing to all 3 films. There's no trace of Empire. In fact, the closest thing to a trace of Empire is another idea in the 2nd draft where they fly through an asteroid field.
Because weren't you saying Empire is actually going to be a theoretical release? You said if a low budget release if you ever decided to do one.
So what's interesting was that he planned another sequel, but it wasn't going to be anything crazy.
And it's funny, he planned a low budget sequel, and it turned out to be better than the
But wait a
first.
minute,
It turned out to be
planned-
the best installment.
But no. But he had already changed the name to Episode 4.
Not at the theatrical release at the time. It was
Oh.
Just Star Wars.
So the real debacle was that there were 3 things going on when Star Wars came out. The movie Star Wars was called Star Wars. There was a book coming out by Alan Dean Foster called Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was later cut, which is supposed to be some story in between that and the next episode. And then there'd be another episode that was called Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. So people thought they were in a coma, or that Splinter of the Mind's Eye contained enough material for 4 films, when they saw Star Wars, which was everyone thought, including Lucas at the time, that was going to be the first episode, only for Lucas to later change his mind and make Vader the same as Father Skywalker and make that the 5th installment.
So although he was pretty indecisive, all in all, he released damn good content.
Yeah, but I don't like him too much because he lies about the process that took place.
Oh yeah, we just read about all the lies and what he just
Well, the
forged
fact that he's a
and-
plagiaristic douche,
Yeah.
like we said last time.
Lucas claimed that he made the script for all 3 films and simply cut it into thirds and made films out of that. No one does that, but even if we did pretend that,
I don't know,
that
they did it
actually
for the
happened...
Hobbit.
What?
They did it
Yeah,
for the
they-
Hobbit. It took one small book and turned it into 3 movies.
Yeah.
That's true.
Even if we pretend that
And it wasn't even a good book.
he actually did do that.
I didn't like that book.
You didn't like the
I
Hobbit?
read it when I was a kid, and I can't get through
For
it.
those of you who don't know, I'm giving her a really dirty look.
Yes, you are. But look, out of all the fandoms, that's the one I cannot handle. I've fallen asleep during watching these movies.
God,
I
I
cannot
love
handle
Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings
Rings.
with such a
I don't know what
passion.
it is. I'm bad with it.
I love Lord of the
Potter,
Rings.
I can watch Potter over and over again.
Potter bores the death.
See, okay, so, and Lord of the Rings bores the death out of me. It is what it is.
Well, I'm glad we like Star Wars.
I know, right?
There's a mutual adoration.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing.
So Lucas, time and time again, always has this backstory of, oh, it's always been the plan, you just haven't seen it fully yet. And he claims this as a form of superficial firewall to protect it from criticism. Because Star Wars was so good, he makes the claim that, oh, this story I also made, which I in fact made later, is also part of the same story, and if you criticize that, you also criticize Star Wars as a whole, which is a cinematic masterpiece. That's how he keeps playing this. That's how he justified the special editions, by saying, oh, it's always been part of the plan, I just haven't had enough technology to instate the true ideas that I had. Like
Well,
throwing
that may be true. That may be true.
throwing in a
because at the
CG rock 34 years after production? I don't think so.
Well, yeah, a rock, not a rock. But a
No.
lot of the things that he did try and throw in, there was not that technology available when Star Wars was made.
They could have easily made that in stop motion. It just would have cost a lot. And he simply used 1993 CG rendering graphics to throw in Dewbacks and Jabba the Hutt, and it did not work out well.
God, Jabba looked like a pile of shit.
Oh, yeah, he was a piece
He's a
of
big
shit.
turd.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
He's a
he-
big turd anyways. He's a big slug turd to be
this like the eyes were as round as like freaking
they were
opals, like huge
bad.
opals, like they were just freaking elongated.
saucers.
Yeah.
No, they were elongated ovals. They were bug-eyed, gaudy, and just ugly.
Yeah, it was really bad. And Lucas also makes the same thing with the story process, that, oh, I always had this idea of making all 3 films, and I just put it on paper through some form of divine intervention over the course of a year, and I made them all verbatim into movies, which is complete
No, that's
horseshit.
horseshit.
And we know that because we
And we
have
can
the
see.
scripts we can easily see, and
Right.
this is absolutely a lie. And the only reason I could possibly come to this conclusion of why he makes these lies up is very reasonable. He's insecure. He can't come off as the man that everyone perceived him to be, the cinematic mastermind demigod. And so when people ask him, hey, George, Did you always have this your plan? Of course he's going to say yes.
Oh, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. I know didn't he worked with Raiders, right? It wasn't his deal.
Spielberg and him collaborated on it.
Okay.
He had a lot of help with that.
But yeah, I was gonna say, besides Star Wars, what has he done since American Graffiti?
Between Star Wars and American Graffiti?
I'm just saying, between the Star Wars sagas.
Period. What else has he done?
What else has he done on his own besides Star Wars and American Graffiti and his movie from college? Like,
Howard the Duck.
okay.
Which was a pile of shit.
Yes, it was. And so that's the point.
But it was the first Marvel movie ever made.
Right.
We did.
Yes.
I
So you gotta hold that to a high
I
standard.
think you could see where his insecurity could come from if he is incapable of producing anything as good as Star Wars.
Anything original, actually.
Yeah,
You can't produce anything original.
Yeah, because the Duck came from the comic book.
Well,
And
Star Wars was from
came
Hidden
from-
Fortress and
Right, it was an
California.
adaptation.
So he can't come up with anything original.
Well, it was pretty close to that. He just kind of evolved it over time and made it seem like a familiar twist that everyone had thought of as new, but always had in the back of their mind. When people came up to George and said, "Hey, George, this is very resemblant of Joseph Campbell's Hero of a Thousand Faces." He's like, "Oh yeah, I actually read that book and based my story off of it," which we know is not true. And what's funny, in order to cover up this lie, he actually befriended Joseph Campbell as a form of a mutual benefit. So Joseph Campbell could say, "I'm friends with the man who made Star Wars," and George Lucas could say, "I was taking part in the monomyth that, oh, this is how a story should be told with a hero," which is exactly what happened. Everything Joseph Campbell said is exactly what happened in Star Wars, but Lucas never had that insight in the first place till after the film, and then he simply made the conclusion to people, yes, that was part of my insight. Yes, I did have insight from the Iliad and the Odyssey. We know that to be not true, and in fact, the only four things we do know to be absolutely certain is Hidden Fortress, Flash Gordon, Dune, and Isaac Asimov. That's it.
Yeah, Isaac Asimov had some neat books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Can't say I've read any.
They're strange. But it's all futuristic stuff.
okay, so that's all we got for the history of the film Star Wars. I'd love to get more into Empire, but I think we're like wringing this dry a little bit. We gotta give this
We're
a little
gonna
bit of
kind of
time.
we're not basing this whole podcast series off just Star Wars.
No, we like getting into other things
So
too.
we're gonna take a break from Star Wars for a couple weeks. Get into the other stuff that we use to help escape what we like. So what we're thinking now, because we had 100% approval rating on a poll we released on Twitter.
Yeah. We actually will be doing a Rick and Morty episode.
Come on,
next.
Morty.
I think we're going to get something into our favorite and least favorite characters along with our favorite theories that are involved.
Yeah, and so this is gonna be plenty of time to think on it because I love all the characters of Rick and Morty. I don't know if I have any least favorites.
Mr. Jellybean. What about him?
The one who tried to rape
Yeah,
Morty?
Morty, you like
yeah,
him?
he's a piece of shit. Never mind. Yeah.
So there's some.
There's someone I like.
So I guess with that being said, shout out to Simon Servita who gave us the permission to go ahead and use his remix of the Cantina for the intro song. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Escape Podcast with 2 underscores and on SoundCloud. Actually, now we're on iTunes, so this is going to be a lot better for our publicity. And do you want to get into the EU before we leave?
We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna assign a book. Like we said, Justin Lindsay isn't here right now. He's helped serving our country, so thank you, Justin. But he made a suggestion. He said we should start thinking about enacting our EU. So he has suggested comics that we should probably read.
Yeah,
and those are which ones?
The Dark Horse Son of Dathomir comics. That was the only comic book before 2014 that Disney's like, all right, you can be canon.
That tells the
There's
story
a reason.
of Darth Maul. Yeah, it tells the story of Darth Maul.
Oh, yeah, Darth Maul's amazing. So, yeah.
So what we're going to go ahead and do for you guys is that you guys are more than welcome to follow along with, but we're going to go ahead and read it, and about 4 episodes from now, we're going to go and talk about it and how wonderful it is.
And what we took from it, how we broke it down, pieced it up, our own interpretations of it, all in all, how we felt about it.
All right.
So, signing off, Zach Fielder.
Cameron Haug.
And Angel Mertens.
Have a great
Thanks,
night,
guys.
guys.
Night, guys.